Pittsburgh Steelers suffer a defeat to a crummy football team on Thursday Night Football, and the bad luck continues for Mike Tomlin's Steelers playing on a short week. Welcome back to Mike Drop Sports, everybody, here on a Friday. It's not the end of the world. I told you they were going to lose again. It was kind of one of those games where it's a short week. It's just tough. Sometimes they weren't able to get it going. They were able to come back, take the lead, but gave up some plays at the end that allowed the Cleveland Browns to get ahead of them. That sequence of where the penalty was for the illegal touching of the football, I thought should have been intentional grounding, which would have been a loss of a down and put the Cleveland Browns back 5 or 10 yards, whatever that penalty may be, but it would have been a loss of down, in my opinion. I believe so. So I disagree. I don't think it was just a legal touch. I thought it was absolutely intentional grounding. He was inside of the pocket. He threw it down to the ground without even an attempt at a wide receiver. I just thought it was a weird sequence of a play. But again, yet you see how officiating can control a game there at the end, but that's not the excuse of why the Steelers lost this game. The excuse of why the Steelers lost this game was they were flat. They were really reduced to nothing in terms of their pass rush at times last night, which I thought was a major contributor to not winning this football game. They weren't able to get home a lot, and I thought with the way that Browns offensive line had been, that they would be able to do that they would be able to have a monster night. I predicted 4 turnovers for the Steelers defense. I think that, 3 they got. I thought for sure they would get 4, but 3, we'll take it, and you should win those games when you force 3 turnovers. But the offense at times was very anemic. Whiteout conditions a lot of the time. It is what it is. It is what it is. Erase this game. Enjoy this time off here for the Steelers to get back to being healthy and back to being energized again when they go in and play the Cincinnati Bengals. And I can guarantee you, you won't see the same performance against the Bengals. Coming up on these 3-day weeks, guys, it's too much. And the NFL should be scolded and shouldn't do this to teams. And that goes for the Browns, too. That's not fair to them either. They were able to get it done, but it becomes just a sloppy crapshoot type game. And you don't want to continue to have those games. The product is not good on Thursday Night Football. And then you add in the weather conditions. It just makes for a game that's just not fun to watch. And I think the NFL really needs to evaluate that. But however, they're all into just trying to make as much money as humanly possible, and the product on the field doesn't matter because they know they got you, and they're going to get their views, and they're going to get their money, and that's just the way it is. They don't really care. So it's just really a big-time money grab. But again, why did the Steelers lose this game? And I got to tell you, it was because of the short week. And I told you that the chances of them losing this game were significant. But yet again, I thought for sure they should dog walk this Cleveland Browns team. And when they play them again, they will absolutely dismantle the Cleveland Browns. The Browns got theirs. The Steelers last year lost the game to the Browns. That was their only divisional loss. It is what it is. They're a 3-8 football team. The Steelers are an 8-3 football team. It's vastly different. Yeah, 9-2 would have been vastly different than 8-3. However, the Steelers, this isn't the end of the world, my friends. This isn't the sky is falling. This isn't just sit here and nitpick every single aspect of the Pittsburgh Steelers on offense, nitpick everything on defense. You can't do that. Again, this was a game on 3 days rest after you just beat the only competition that you have inside of the AFC North, a team in which many people say could win the Super Bowl. And you beat them. And then you had to come back 3 days rest and play a road game in a bad weather game all into one. And Mike Tomlin's teams just historically have not performed well on Thursday Night Football. It is what it is. But hey, what are you going to do? Nothing. Why? Because there is a lot of ball left to play. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have many opportunities and many chances here coming up to right this ship. And there really doesn't need to be a righting of the ship, guys. They just ripped off 4 games straight. They just won 4 games straight. They beat 2 serious contenders. And sometimes you stumble, man. Sometimes you stumble. And it's okay. And again, I'm not going to sit here and dismantle this team because I know all of the variables. I understand the circumstance, and you should too. You can't sit here and say how bad this football team played. You can't sit there and say that. They were coming off of a short week and playing in bad conditions and still had chances to win. They still were finding ways to win. Could the offensive line play better? Absolutely. Could the pass game have been better? Absolutely. Could the defense have been better? Absolutely. But I can't hang this win on, or this loss all. I just can't hang it on this team as a real bad blemish for them. I can't. It is what it is. And if you're Mike Tomlin, that has to be the message this week. Allow your team some days off here. Give them the rest of the week off. Allow them to come back in the building Monday or Tuesday. Flush this game. I wouldn't even watch the tape of this game, guys, if I were Mike Tomlin. I wouldn't even watch the damn tape. Why? Because this game doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean shit. I told you the Steelers were going to lose a couple more games. That was one of them, but they will be back on track, and this team still has a big-time chance to be a top seed inside of the AFC Conference playoffs. You know one thing about the Cleveland Browns is they'll be sitting at home while the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing in playoff games because the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. The Browns are not. The Browns aren't going to make the playoffs for several years. They ain't going to have a chance at it. But the Steelers, on the other hand, have a situation in which they could be good for several years. Why? Because they have a young nucleus of offensive line players that are going to eventually start coming together and be really, really good. They have a quarterback in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields right now that if they decide to sign, you know they're going to have an opportunity to win ball games. They have a wide receiver core with George Pickens and those guys that potentially could start really emerging to be good. They have a tight end room that's really good. They just paid Pat Freiermuth. They have a defense that can turn the ball over. They showed you that again last night. A defense that can get the job done. They didn't give a shit ton of points. They should have won that game. The defense didn't play bad, and that wasn't even a good performance by them. They didn't play bad though. It was mediocre, and they didn't even get to Jameis Winston the way they could. It's all encouraging is what I'm trying to say here on a Friday. Do not be destroyed by this loss. Do not sit here and pick apart everything. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Steelers Nation. It's not worth it because it doesn't freaking matter. This game wasn't that big of a deal. And I could sit here and dissect X's and O's all day. But why would I? Because that's not even what this show's about. This show is about you not overreacting to a big time, a big loss. We'll call it a big loss, but guess what? After today, I already forget about it. After this show, I'm already forgetting about it. And does this tell me that the Cleveland Browns are better than the Pittsburgh Steelers? Hell no. Does this tell me all of a sudden that the Pittsburgh Steelers fell off the map? Hell no. Jump up, Steelers Nation. Rise up. Don't be sad. Get pumped up, baby. Get pumped up, baby. Because guess what? The Pittsburgh Steelers will be back next Sunday, and they will be back with a vengeance. They will go absolutely freaking crazy on the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm telling you this now. I already know it. They're going to put up 30, 40 points next week against the Bengals. The Bengals don't have a good defense. It's going to be a monster game in terms of points. You are going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely dismantle the Cincinnati Bengals, barring any type of weather. Weather does play a role, and I know a lot of people said that it wouldn't, but it did. Weather played a significant role in this matchup. It is what it is, but again, we're flushing this out. So, barring any type of real weather event next week, the Pittsburgh Steelers will get back on track. They will be 9-3. They will be on the path to ultimate success. Period. End of discussion. The Pittsburgh Steelers are for real. They are contenders. This was a road bump. Every team loses these types of games during the course of the season. Do you know how rare it is to just go undefeated? Do you know how rare it is to go 15-2? Do you know how rare it is to just barely lose 2 or 3 games in the NFL? Very rare, guys. These are all professionals. They are all professionals. But that doesn't mean anything, and that doesn't change anything, that the Cleveland Browns are shit. And it is what it is. They got lucky. Even freaking, yeah. Anybody can win any Sunday, but it's still, that game still showed me the Cleveland Browns were absolute dog shit. And the Steelers probably played their worst game of the season last night. Their worst game of the season. That was their worst game, and they still had a chance to win. It's pretty encouraging in a freaking blizzard, basically. And they still had a chance to win playing their worst game of the year. And if that isn't encouraging to you, I don't know what is. So until tonight for Steel City Live, where we'll dive into some of the nuts and bolts of this football game. But guess what? I'm flushing it. So don't come at me too much with the what ifs or what could have beens. We're flushing this shit, and we're going to prepare for the Cincinnati Bengals. That's how we do it in Pittsburgh. Why? Because we have a winner's fucking mentality, my friends. End of discussion. I'm Jason. This is Mike Drop Sports. Peace, my friends.